Chapter 2 Home Sweet Home. Let's take a look around, Mark suggests. Even if they aren't here, there might be a clue telling us what happened to them. The teens walk down into the kitchen of the house. Immediately on their left is a refrigerator. Across from the refrigerator, there is a cabinet and a sink. On the same side as the refrigerator, there is a stove and some drawers. "Hey, look!" Amy exclaims. "There's a note on the refrigerator, but I can't read it in this darkness." Mark walks over to the light switch and flips it. Nothing happens. "Well, this is just great," Mark says sarcastically. "Does nothing work anymore?" "Let's see if we can find another source of light," Amy says. Mark and Amy search through the cabinets and drawers in the kitchen. Out of a cabinet, Amy pulls a box of matches. "These matches won't burn long enough on their own," Amy says. "But if we can find something to light with them, that might just work." Mark pulls the candle out of a drawer. "How about this candle?" he asks. Amy strikes a match, lighting it. She puts the burning match to the wick on the candle that Mark holds. The candle successfully lights. With the candle lit, Amy puts out the match and disposes of it in the kitchen's trash can. Mark takes the candle over to the refrigerator, and Amy joins him to read the note. The note on the refrigerator says, "Kids, we hope you aren't reading this, because we hoped you would never have to see this city again. Very recently, ordinary people started turning into mindless monsters that relentlessly hunt and try to eat humans. It sounds so odd, but zombie is the only word we can think of to describe them. But there are even more bizarre creatures out there that no one had ever seen or heard of before now. We don't know where they came from or why they're here. We do hope you don't have to experience this nightmare, but at the same time, we hope you find this note. All electrical devices have stopped working, so this may be the only way for us to say goodbye to you. No matter what happens to us, know that we still love you." Mark puts out the candle and pockets it. "We might need this again," he says. Amy responds by putting the matches in her pocket. "We have to get out of here while we still can," Amy says. "No!" Mark says emphatically. "We have to find Mom and Dad. They could still be out there somewhere." "How do we know they're still alive?" Amy asks. "They're definitely not here, and that note sounded pretty final to me." "I'm not going to give up hope," Mark replies, "until I see undeniable proof that they're dead. Don't you care about them at all?" Mark's tone takes a hint of anger. Becoming angry as well, Amy retorts, "It's not that I don't care about them. I want them to be alive just as much as you do, but can you show me proof that they are?" "Why do you have to be so pessimistic?" Mark asks. "You try spending half your life in an orphanage," Amy says argumentatively, "and we'll see how optimistic you are." Bluntly, Mark says, "Look, I'm going to find my parents. If you want to run away, then go ahead." "So if you know they're alive," Amy says, "then where are they, Mr. Optimism?" There is a long pause while Mark thinks. "During the trip to our grandparents' house," he begins again, "there was a segment on the radio." "That's right!" Amy exclaims. "They said that people had started reporting strange transformations in the animals in the forest on the other side of the lake, and that the local research lab was sending in a team to investigate. But how does that help us? You don't really think our parents are there, do you?" Mark suggests, "Let's go to the research lab and see if there's any information on what caused this madness. It probably won't help us find Mom and Dad, but if we can stop this, or better yet, reverse it, then we might be able to save them. If we can't find enough information at the research center, we'll go to the forest as a last resort." "All right," Amy says. "I'm with you. A weak lead is better than nothing, I guess." Mark walks over to the window on the far side of the kitchen and looks out of it. He can see many monsters gathering outside. "First," he says, "we need to find a way to get out of this house. But I think it's too dangerous to go out the front or back doors. We'd be swarmed by monsters before we could even get out the door. Amy walks over to a door connected to the kitchen. Then let's try the garage, she says. Amy grabs the doorknob, but it won't turn. It's locked tight. "Oh, hell," she curses. "It's locked. We need to find the key quick. I bet it won't be long before those monsters find a way to get in." Mark and Amy look all around in the kitchen, the room through which they entered the house, and the living room, but they don't see any keys anywhere. They exit the living room and enter the hallway. There are 3 doors on the right side of the hallway and 2 on the left. The first door on the right is the front door. As the teenagers approach, they hear a banging and see the front door shaking. The monsters outside must be trying to break the door down. Trembling, the kids walk down the hallway. On the first door on the left, they can see that the doorknob is held shut by a chain that is kept together by not 1 but 2 locker-style combination locks. "This is our parents' room," Amy says. "They must have been trying really hard to keep something out." "Or maybe in," Mark suggests. Mark goes up to the door and starts messing with the locks. "On the back," he begins, "it says, 'The combination is our greatest treasure.'" "Well, that's obvious," Amy says. "How so?" Mark asks. "Whenever a parent talks about their greatest treasure," Amy says, "they're always talking about their children. The combination has to have something to do with us. Let me take a look." Amy walks up to the locks and turns the knob around on one of them. After Amy tries several combinations, one of them works. Miraculously, the lock pops open. "Not bad, not bad," Mark says. "So what's the combination?" "Easy," Amy says. "It's our birthdays. My birthday is November 12th, so I just tried out possible combinations based on those numbers. Finally, right to 1, left to 2, and right to 11 turned out to be the right one." Mark starts turning the other lock. "My birthday is March 15th, so let's see." After Mark spends some time working on the lock, it finally opens. "There we go," he says. "Right to 1, left to 5, and right to 3. Mark removes the chain and opens the door. He and Amy enter their parents' room. Against the far wall is the door to a closet. Against the near wall is a bookcase. Against the right side wall is a large double bed. Against the left wall is a dresser. Amy and Mark walk up to the dresser and start searching. Amy picks a key up off the top of the dresser. "Here we go," she says triumphantly. "This will get us out of the house." Amy looks over at Mark and sees that he's staring at a picture on the dresser. The picture is of the 4 of them, Mark, Amy, and their parents. "Don't worry," Mark says. "We will find a way to save you." "Come on," Amy says. "We need to go. Those monsters could break in at any minute." "Well, excuse me for actually caring about my parents," Mark says. "And excuse me for trying to keep us alive," Amy retorts. Amy and Mark go back out into the hallway and through the hallway into the living room. As they enter the living room, they hear a loud bang come from behind them. They look back and see that the monsters have broken in through the front door. The teens run through the living room and into the kitchen. Then, there's another bang as the monsters break down the back door. Amy shoves the garage key into the door and starts turning it frantically. A zombie gets close. Mark punches it, knocking it back. A click can be heard as the garage door unlocks. Amy opens the door and she and Mark enter the garage, closing the door behind them. "We definitely can't go back now," Amy says. Mark looks around in the garage. Notable things in the garage include a blue car parked in it, some boxes, some gardening tools leaning up against the same wall as the door, a red bike, and a purple bike. "Let's take our bikes," Mark suggests. "The research lab is kind of far, so we'll need the speed." "But we can't open the garage door without power," Amy says. "How are we even going to get ourselves out of here, let alone our bikes, if we can't get the door open?" In the distance, the faint sound of a beating heart can be heard. "Do you hear that?" Mark says. "It sounds like a heartbeat." "Oh?" Amy says tauntingly. Are you that scared? Hey, it's not me, Mark says. Maybe you're saying I'm scared because you can't admit that you're scared. While the kids are busy arguing with each other, they fail to notice that the sound of the heartbeat is getting louder. The sound of metal being torn apart gets their attention. They look and see that a monster is tearing open the door to the garage. It literally looks like a large, disembodied human heart. The arteries have evolved into arm-like appendages. The heart continues beating. It flexes like a heart does when it's pumping blood.